Okay, welcome to a special edition of a Flosstube. What are we? Are we a mix? Are we a mashup? A mashup
mashup.
between.
like that.
Okay, we're a mashup. Okay, Jan, say hello.
Hello, everybody. This is Jan of Jan Hicks Creates.
And Michelle.
Hey y'all, Michelle G here, Bendy Stitchy.
And Jean Farish with Jean Farish Needleworks. So we have a huge special announcement to make, and we decided the best way to do it would be to do it together. So here we are. Okay, a little bit of backstory. As I was driving up to Stitch North and thinking about how cold it was going to be up there, and I started thinking about warm weather, even though it was May. I mean, I knew that it would be cold in Canada. I thought, you know, it would really be nice to have a retreat that was on a ship. And what would really be fun would be to invite a couple of other Flosstubers to join me. And lo and behold, I'd already sort of known Jan because I've been watching her Flosstube since the very beginning. And I met Michelle at Stitch North. And Michelle didn't know this when I was chatting with her, but the whole time I'm standing there thinking, I think she would be a good person to do this cruise with. You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, you know, I sort of percolated with the idea and ran it by a couple of friends of mine who do cruises and retreats, and they thought it was a good idea too. So, because I have a lot of good ideas that are not good ideas. So I always like to run them by somebody. So, so driving home, which was like about 12 hours in the car, I really had time to think about this. And so by the time I got home, I was on the phone. Actually, I think I stopped at a rest area and called my salesperson at Celebrity and said, can you please check out and see if we can find a cruise in the Caribbean where it's going to be warm in January that has a meeting room that would be large enough for our group? And the answer was yes. So that's what we're here to share with you. So you can tell we're excited, and we're hoping that you're going to be excited also. So where should we start?
All right, let's start with when is the cruise?
It is going to be January 14th to the 21st. That's a Sunday to a Sunday. And we're going to sail out of Fort Lauderdale, which is a great city for cruises.
And there is a cross-stitch store in Fort Lauderdale as well, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Cross-stitch cupboard. And it's you can get an Uber easily from any of the hotels to the shop. And between now and then, I will talk with Karen Owen, the owner, and see if what we can put together. Maybe a little cocktail party Friday night out on her porch, the porch of the shop, and maybe shopping on Saturday. Because like I said, the cruise leaves on Sunday morning. Well, actually, the ship will leave in the afternoon, but you'll start boarding in the morning.
That's awesome.
That sounds great.
So Michelle, I know you had mentioned in one of our little pre-planning meetings that you had never been on a cruise.
I have never been on a cruise. So we used to live in Honolulu, so we walked by the cruise ships, and you look up and they're
mammoth. Yeah.
Just like another building that just pulled up at the dock.
Right. It's like a floating resort hotel.
Yeah. So I've never been on a cruise, but I love warm weather, and I love cross-stitching, and I love cross-stitchers. So I feel like, why wouldn't I love cross-stitching on a cruise?
Well, a couple of other things you can put on that list is, how about having somebody make your bed and clean your room every day?
And do the dishes.
How about
cook my food?
Preparing delicious meals and having snacks available at no charge, just anytime you feel like having a soft drink or a glass of wine or fruit juice, or you need a bottle of water, you just go get it.
But I was going to say, what I really love is an all-inclusive.
Yes. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I'm going to guess that there are a lot of people watching this who have never been on a cruise. Okay, so part of what we're going to do is compare and contrast land-based retreats to what we're talking about here on the cruise, because that kind of helped me kind of get my head wrapped around, you know, how we wanted to do this. So on the cruise, your cruise fare will cover the cruise, of course, all of your meals, all of your snacks, all of your beverages, unless a few exceptions, like if you want top shelf liquor in a drink or a top shelf wine, there's an extra charge for that. But it will include the meeting space, and of course the kind of perks you like at a retreat, like the little things you get in a swag bag, for example. And what we decided to do is we're going to each teach a project to the entire group. And so the supplies that will be needed for each one of those 3 projects will also be in your swag bag. So that's included. We're really trying to make it completely inclusive. It even includes your tips for the staff.
And also like Wi-Fi too, right? Because I'll need Wi-Fi.
Yes. It's going to include what they call their basic Wi-Fi, which is, it works. It's, especially if you're going on this retreat to unplug, and you only need to check your email once a day or something, you're fine. Now, if you want to download movies or play video games, you're probably going to want to upgrade that.
And also the entertainment as well, right?
Good point. Every night there's some sort of entertainment in the theater. It can be a magic show, it could be a Broadway type musical. It's just a lot of different things. One of my favorite memories, it was 3 crew members, including the captain of the ship, who did the Liars Club, and they were hysterical. So that's like in the main theater, and then there's a smaller venue that will also have something going on. And then at various places throughout the ship, there will be musicians and dancing and just all kinds of things.
That's great. And we can reserve tickets to those kind of in blocks, right? So we're not just stitching together, we're hanging out together.
Yeah, it's like the whole
right.
And
I will talk with my counterparts on the cruise ship and ask them to hold tickets for us as a group, so we can even sit together if we want to. So let's talk about the stitching room. I've been on enough ships at this point that I kind of have a feel for what the stitching space can be like. And frankly, some of the ships, it's very nice. It's comfortable. It's great light, but there are no windows. So you're not getting to see the beautiful scenery as you go by. So when we started shopping for the right cruise for us, we looked very carefully at the stitching space. Ascent is the ship that we're going to be on, and it's a brand new ship. It has not even left the dock yet. Their first,
so cool.
Their first cruises are this fall. So that's going to be exciting. And the conference space or the meeting space on that ship has a whole wall of windows. I think it's like on deck 4, which means it's close to various places that you can, get something to eat or drink and bring it back into the room if you want to. And we'll have good views.
As far as the cabins are concerned, there's usually like a selection, different levels of cabins. Is that?
So I picked 4 different types of cabins for our group, just based on the experience I've had, with our Citrus Escapes cruises. What they call the deluxe inside stateroom. These are comfortable rooms, but they do not have any kind of a window. And then there's an ocean view stateroom, and those are the staterooms that actually have some sort of a window or a view to the outside. My personal favorite, and I think that I have cooked Michelle and Jan on this too,
Definitely,
is what they call an infinite veranda stateroom. And I actually have some photos of my own, the infinite veranda that I had on a previous cruise. So I'm going to put them in here when I edit so people can see what I'm talking about. But most balcony cabins, or in the language of Celebrity Cruise Line, they call them verandas, they're usually sliding glass doors out into like a little balcony. But on this infinite veranda, they are the kind of folding French doors that fold back into the wall. And if that wasn't spectacular enough, as far as that you fully have access to your balcony, the balcony, like, you know, for safety reasons, from like, it's not really waist high, but let's say shoulder high down, it's plexiglass. But then there's also a piece of plexiglass that comes down from the ceiling, and it can be raised and lowered like a garage door. So if it's a gorgeous balmy day, you can be in your room with those French doors open. You can have the upper part of the balcony
Raised up.
yeah, open, and just feel like you're outside. If it, you know, if it's cooler or whatever, then you can close that. With those doors open, you've basically expanded the size of your room with that extra footage that of the veranda or the balcony.
It's a room extension, and what a view, right?
Yeah, and it's like you're outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
And then we also have a couple of what they call a concierge class stateroom with veranda. And for people who are avid cruisers, they're probably familiar with this. That's where you have, you know, services and amenities added on to the basic part.
The contract is built for double occupancy, right? So everybody with a roommate.
If somebody wants to sail solo, they can, and we can quote them a price for solo occupancy. But that's one of the things that makes it, especially for new cruisers, this is very different from, say, booking a hotel room. You've got a hotel room with 2 queen beds. The hotel doesn't care whether there's 1 person in the room or 2. But with ships, it's completely the opposite. They are assuming 2 people are in that cabin, and if there's only 1, they basically pay double. So it's a little less than double, and that's why we'll, you know, I'll quote that to if anybody particularly wants to sail solo.
And bringing it back to the on land retreats, I know one of my favorite things about going to a retreat is my roommate. So you don't spend a whole lot of time in your room, but that, you know, going back to the room at night, that winding down time, that's a lot of special time with that person.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to go knowing that you're going to have a roommate. Is kind of cool.
The other thing too, and this is one of the things I think that makes it a little different, again, compared to the land-based thing, is there are a lot of things to do on the ship. So even if you were not coming to be a part of our stitching experience, a person is still going to have a great time on the cruise. So that roommate could be a spouse, could be,
sibling, friend.
It could be a mother, a daughter, a sister, a sister-in-law, a cousin, your college roommate. I mean, anybody who just wants to come. And if they are a maker of some type, if they like to knit or do hand quilting or any kind of handwork, they are certainly welcome to come and enjoy the stitching room. And I think that's an important part of this, especially if your roommate, for example, again, let's say knitting, you don't want to be apart from them all day long. Right. So yes, they can come into the stitching room and do whatever it is that the craft that they enjoy.
Jean, let's talk a little bit. Look at the numbers we're looking at, because it is going to be a smaller than most retreats. It's going to be a smaller, more intimate group.
One of the things that I'm waiting for a firm answer from Celebrity is about how many people we're going to be able to fit in that meeting space. Right now, I'm thinking that number is going to be at least 70. It may be as many as 90. But for right now, let's use as a working number 70. That would be, and we're going to use the term a stitcher / maker. In other words, regardless of what kind of handwork the person's doing, when they book using the stitcher / maker fare, then they will get to come into the stitching room and use it. They will always have a spot, and they will get the swag bag and be there. You know, who knows? Maybe we'll convert that knitting friend into a cross stitcher.
They're almost there anyway.
That's
right. That I don't think any one of the 3 of us is ready to tell you exactly what that stitching project will be. But I can tell you mine, right now, what I'm leaning toward is maybe a 5x7 type sampler that would have a variety of stitches in it. But then I will also design it so if a person wants to stitch on Aida and doesn't want to learn new stitches, they'll still be able to do it.
And I think I'm looking at something with variegated thread. That's about all
That's nice and
know
broad.
right now.
Well, Jan, your fans know that you have a lot on your plate right now. So I'm just impressed that with all that's going on with you, with your move and everything, that you are willing to jump in and do this with us.
Oh, I wouldn't miss it. This is fantastic. Like I said, Caribbean in January. After spending a winter here in Idaho, not that I'm in Idaho come January, but yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
And I haven't told you all this. I've been talking with Leanne of Forbidden Fiber, and I'm going to work with her to make my design using her flosses, and then I'll be able to have a thread pack there, and
Nice.
it'll be great. She'll do a couple exclusives probably for the swag bag, and then we'll have more, but always a DMC conversion. But I think it has to be Hildy. Hildy set sail. So Hildy's my main squeeze. I'm always designing Hildy's. So this seems like a good time for another one.
There you go. That sounds great. So, I mean, if anything, I think we're going to have trouble narrowing it down to what to put in that swag bag. And again, with great audio visual equipment, I feel comfortable being able to teach the whole room. And what we'll do, we have, oh, that's the other thing. We haven't talked about where we're going yet.
Oh my gosh. We've just been hinting at it. It's going to be warm.
Okay. All right. So we're leaving Fort Lauderdale and we have 3 sea days. Now, again, for the uninitiated, a sea day is when you're just on the ship and you're not docking anywhere. So during those 3 sea days is when we will each one of the I can't talk. Each one of the sea days, one of us will teach the group. The ports that we're going to be visiting, we're going to be in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And when I was there last January, I did some Googling and I found an arts and crafts store that features the handwork of people that live in Puerto Rico. And I was just blown away by the quality and the variety of the things I saw. So, and what's nice about San Juan is you get off the ship and you can just walk right into the city. You don't have to spend the money on an excursion if you don't want to. There's plenty to do, great restaurants. And I'm planning on going back to that craft store. And between now and then, I'm going to reach out to the owner and see whether or not they can do something like maybe bring some of those local artisans in to meet us.
That would be so cool.
That would be fun. Again, that's an idea. I'm not promising that's going to happen. So we leave Fort Lauderdale on Sunday. Monday is at sea. Tuesday, we're in San Juan. Wednesday, we're in Tortola, British Virgin Islands. And then on Thursday, we're at St. Kitts and Nevis. And last year, I found it's basically an old plantation that has been, I don't know how to explain this, but it's a batik dyeing workshop. And there are all kinds of batik fabric that you can buy. And they also do hands-on classes on how to dye batik. And again, no promise, but I'm working on us doing an excursion to that plantation. And plus it's gorgeous gardens. And then
Jean, would that be an extra charge for that excursion, or would that be
great question. Any of the excursions off the ship that you book, there will be an optional, I mean, it's optional and you'll have a charge for that. Because I mean, even like I say, in any one of these 3 ports are called, if you're into snorkeling, hiking, going to see archaeological sites, there's dozens and dozens of excursions that the cruise line sponsors that you can choose from. and this one in St. Kitts, if it happens, then yes, there will be a charge for it. But to talk about excursions, like once people register with us, then there's usually a couple of weeks before I send the information into the cruise line, and the booking actually becomes official on the cruise line's part. It's official on our part, but there's a process that we have to go through. And once a person gets their booking number, I then send them the booking number. Then they can go on the celebrity website and actually see their cruise. And that's when they will, they can populate their shopping cart if they want to, with not just excursions, but also spa treatments. There's a wonderful spa on the ship, massages, manicures, pedicures.
Who needs to get off the
Hot
ship?
stone,
What excursion?
you know, there's all kinds of stuff. And so then that's Thursday in St. Kitts and Nevis, and then Friday and Saturday we're at sea again, and then we're back in Fort Lauderdale the following Sunday.
It sounds like for us newbie cruisers, to go on this cruise, we're booking through, people are booking through you, through us, and then
Yes.
we're like, you're like the cross-stitch travel agent, and you do the booking with the cruise.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, the cruise line calls us a travel partner because I'm
Oh.
not officially a travel agent.
Got it.
I should get little business cards like travel partner.
Cross-stitch travel
You
partner.
can be my travel partner.
Yeah. Michelle, I'm really glad that you asked that question, because this is a good time to point out that the only way a person can be in our stitching room with us is to book through us.
Right.
If a person just goes online and books their own cruise, or uses a travel agent and books it, sorry, but they won't be a part of our group. And it goes beyond just a stitching room. It's also, like I said, the excursion that we hope to offer. It will be dining. We can dine together as a group. And I think that there's just a real value in being a part of this larger group.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things that people seek when they go to retreats.
Agreed. I think it feels like, never having been on a cruise, but having been to lots of land-bound retreats, it feels like the coolest thing about the retreat is the camaraderie with the other retreaters. And even more so with us here on the cruise, right? Because we're going to be kind of a little group inside of a giant group of cruisers. People are going to be all around us, but we're going to be the ones in the stitching room. Like you said, we can go to dinner together, shows, excursions.
Right.
Yeah. And I think being a smaller group, you know, the only retreats I've been to are like StitchCon, that is so huge, that being in this smaller group, you know, I think one of the things we're really hoping to create here is a really strong community. And that's what this is about, really getting to know each other and having a chance to enjoy each other, do these things together, but really feel that sense of community. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I think so.
Yeah.
But the 70 person is going to be great for that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about prices, because I'm a consumer, and when I today I needed to buy a 2-pound bag of brown sugar at the grocery store, and I looked at the price and I thought, I wonder if I can get this somewhere cheaper. So I would expect people to check prices. But what I would ask you to do when you check prices is, like, I went online because this cruise is already live. People are already booking it. And I went in and they were having a sale. It was a really, really good sale. Like, the first person in the room is full price. The second one was, a big percentage off. And that price looked a lot lower than our prices. But then when you click through, then it adds taxes, it adds port fees, it adds gratuities, and the price was higher than our prices. And that's without adding in Wi-Fi and the drinks package.
And the swag bag. They don't get our swag bag.
Right. And they don't get to hang out with us. I mean, really.
That's right.
Yeah.
No price on that.
or access to the stitching room. Right. So even for just for value, is you're getting the same cruise. I mean, that's not changing any.
And just wanted to add, I am notoriously frugal. And I was crunching the numbers because at first I've never been on a cruise. So the price of a cruise to me was a little sticker shock. But then I got my little analytical brain on and I thought, this is 7 days, accommodations, all the food and drink that I could possibly hold, right? And then the swag bag, the stitching room, which are usually included in a retreat. And then I compared that to how much I've spent on retreats, landlocked retreats in the past. And I usually stay at a landlocked retreat for 4 days because I add that extra day before the retreat. So I have one extra night in the hotel. This price for this retreat for 7 days of retreating is only maybe it's a couple hundred to a few $100 more than I would spend on a landlocked retreat for 4 days. And this is for 7. I didn't calculate airfare because I have to fly either way. So that's a wash for me.
Yeah.
But
and were you looking at that infinity balcony when you were making that comparison?
I was looking at the infinite veranda because that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about these interior rooms. I mean, I'm going to be in an infinity veranda. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I know that you both will also. But if, you know, there are some people, they're only in their room to sleep and take a shower and change clothes.
Yep.
So if you're not, you know, an interior room or a ocean view room,
Totally fine.
Might be fun.
Yeah.
I think the thing that is lost on a lot of people is once you walk out of your stateroom and you close the door, everybody gets the same experience.
Yeah.
It's the same food in the restaurants. It's the same, you know, entertainment in the theaters. It doesn't matter what type of room you're in.
Right.
Hopefully by now people are excited about this. So how do they register? That might be important to say. Okay.
That will be important. Yes.
We are looking at opening registration on July 8th. That's a Saturday. At 11 o'clock Eastern time. Is that on the Stitches Escapes website that there will be a link that will go live on July 8th. But also, if you go to the Stitches Escapes website and go to the contact page, you can sign up for our newsletter. And we will send out a newsletter with all this information in it to everybody who's on our newsletter. And then the day that the registration opens, we will send a link to everybody by newsletter.
So that's probably the best way to stay ahead of any kind of changes that might occur is to sign up for that Stitchers Escape newsletter.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. One thing I can tell you that will be different about this form than what we've done previously is there'll be a place where a person can indicate whose Flosstube channel they heard about the cruise, because we're just really curious about that. Watch all 3 of us. They can put down all 3 names if they want to. One of the things that I am thinking is going to happen is somebody's watching this and they're saying, I really want to go on this cruise. Michelle's right. I want a roommate, but I don't know who to ask. So my advice to that person is all the little stitchy groups that you are a member of on social media, be it Facebook or whatever, put it out there, put it on your own profile, put it on other profiles saying, I want to go on this cruise. I'm looking for a roommate. We will not match roommates. That, you know, people kind of need to do this on their own. And we have had experiences where people have connected in that way and have become like best friends forever after having this cruise experience together.
And we do have the private Facebook group that will be, once people have signed up, that people will be able to kind of start to get to know each other there as well, right?
Yes. Very good. I'm glad you remembered about that. Yes, we always start a private Facebook group. And this one, the only way people can join is is when they're actually booked for the cruise. This is not where people are just interested in it, but just they are actually coming. And what we like about that is it's a way for people to start building a community before we even get together on the ship. People will, because it's private, they can put in, let's say, their flight information and say, anybody want to share an Uber from the airport to the hotel, all these kinds of things can happen. And once the registration process gets started, we'll get that Facebook group set up.
Cool.
We also, and when I say we, the Citrus Escapes team is myself and my 2 daughters. And we have some of this down to a science, but we send out a series of newsletters because there's a lot of information that people want or need to know about a cruise. And rather than overwhelming them with a big hunk of information, we send it out in newsletters. We call them our 10th day newsletters. Like we might send one out when we're 100 days out, and one when we're 90 days out and 80 days out. And
That's
each
cool.
one of them will have a topic that we will talk about, like dress code or what the embarking process is like, what's the disembarking process like. So each one of them has a topic, and that way people learn the details in little bites that are easier to absorb.
That's really nice for us beginners.
And we love first time cruisers. There's nothing like being with people that their eyes are like as big as saucers of really just kind of taking it all in.
So that actually reminded me of the fact that people are going to be able to set up somewhat of a payment plan to pay for the cruise, right?
Yes. We have a very strict policy of a non-refundable deposit. It's $300. And the cruise fares, which we're gonna be putting in the episode details. When you look at that price, the $300 is not on top of it. So just to use an example, the deluxe inside stateroom is $1,840 per person, and the first invoice they would get from us would be for $300 for the non-refundable deposit. And then depending on when the person signs up, which we're hoping they're going to sign up on July 8th, we would then take the balance and divide it like into 3 payments. And if somebody didn't sign up to say September, their balance might be divided up into 2 payments. So it just all depends on what, where they are in the calendar of because we try to make it as easy as possible.
And that's because you want to have the payment completed by a certain number of days before the cruise, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because with this contract, there's a date by which I have to pay the cruise line for everybody's cruises. So yeah, it's kind of nice for people to have paid me before I have to pay them.
Very nice.
Yeah, but that's how it works.
Okay.
Great question. Let's see. Trying to think what other questions. Now we have Michelle, you're gonna figure out how we're gonna put this document.
Oh yeah, I will. So we have a document, kind of an informational thing, and we can develop a frequently asked questions too as we go along. I'll put that on a Google Drive, and I'll put a link so that we'll all be able to put it below our videos, and you can just click on it, and that way it can be a living document, and we can update it as we get new information.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
One thing I did want to mention that I didn't realize, Jean, until you sent this sheet, I'm really glad that I just got my passport for Stitch North.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
First time cruisers, we have to have passports to go.
Right. Yeah,
really
because you're going to foreign countries.
Yeah.
I mean, not San Juan, but St. Kitts and
the other ones.
British Virgin Islands, yeah.
And British Virgin Islands, yeah.
Get your passports now.
You literally will not be allowed on the ship if you don't have your passport. So, and not a passport card. I mean, a passport. Yeah. So yes. So that would be, you've got plenty of time to do it, but don't put it off. And as far as where you can get passports, the post office is a traditional place. Yep. But also, if you're in a city with a large university or college, they very often have passport offices on their campuses. And like Winston-Salem State here in Winston-Salem has one because they have so many students from foreign countries. And I found that was the quickest way. I was just in and out in no time at all.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
But that's just to submit your paperwork, correct?
And get your picture taken.
Okay, because you can actually, Mike and I just had to renew our passports, and ours had actually expired, so we had to send in the old ones and get totally new ones. You can do it all online. You can take your own picture, and they have they're very
Even
clear.
for a new one, not a renewal. Oh, good.
Mhm.
Can
Okay.
you really?
Yeah.
I went to the post office for nothing.
What was that?
I went to the post office for no good reason.
You did.
So you've
Well, it
already done
wasn't-
it?
I had
Yeah.
to do it for Stitch North, so that box
Oh
is checked.
yeah.
I'm ready
That's
to
right.
cruise.
Good. Yeah. And that mine will expire before our cruise this fall. But I couldn't send it in to get it renewed
North.
because I had to go to Stitch North. So I'm like, I'm glad I didn't. I was like getting ready to send it in. I thought, wait a minute, I might need this.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, you can do all that online. You can take your own picture. And I think, boy, maybe it was 4 or 5 weeks. It did not take long to get it back. We were very impressed with the service.
and by this time you have seen it because I will have the logo on our beginning of our thing. But I decided that it was time that there would be a Flosstube logo. Now, none of the three of us knew of anybody who's ever done one. And there may be one out there, but this is what I came up with on my own. And Michelle and Jan gave it a thumbs up. So we're calling this Flosstube at Sea.
Yep.
And this will actually be a chart. Hey, we can put this chart in a swag bag.
It should
Yep.
be there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And
Exactly.
there may or may not be t-shirts.
I would wear
To
one.
be
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. All right. So we're excited. We're gonna have great food. We're gonna have beautiful scenery. We're gonna have lots of time to stitch. The only thing we need is you. So get with your friends and start making plans so that on July 8th you can register for this cruise and we'll get going.
We want to see you there.
We can't wait.